I'm going to give you my opinion of what went wrong with this USS Fitzgerald. And I'm going to talk about my experience with a collision at sea. And a lot of my knowledge dealing with merchant vessels, oil tankers, all that bullshit. Now I'm going to tell you right now, I give 1,000% credit to the crew of the USS Fitzgerald because the ship didn't sink. They saved it. If you want to talk about the 7 missing sailors, I think they're entombed in the entombed in the ship, because when they did collide, the bow underneath the merchant vessel, when it hit, flooded 2 berthing compartments, the radio compartment, and I'm sure there's more spaces that got flooded. So when the collision alarm went off, doors got slammed, and maybe some of those guys couldn't get out. Maybe they were noble enough to say, I'm not opening this fucking door in chest-high water knowing it's going to flood the rest of the ship. It's a hard thing to explain because when you're out on the open ocean, the number one thing you have to do is save the ship. Because if you don't save the ship, everybody's going in the water, and you're going to have to deal with sharks, etc. Guys that can't swim, or can't swim long enough, or can't get to a life jacket. Stuff like that. So this collision at sea happened at 02:30 in the morning. I don't know if it was cloudy. I don't know if it was foggy. I don't know nothing. But I want you to realize when they slammed the doors and went into water tightness, they slam the doors, and those doors don't get open. There's a little window that you can look in, and if you see water, you're not opening that fucking door. And the guys that are inside that compartment know that, dude, can't open the door. We're going to have to die here. Because the water gets up to waist high. You open that door, you can't shut it again. The water pressure is too fucking great with no matter how many guys you got. You can't get that door shut and get it dogged down to maintain watertight integrity. Trust me, how do I know this? Because I've got a scar right up here where I was in a flooding simulator with steel pots, and they had a big fire hydrant that was pumping water in, and we were trying to save the quote ship, and the only thing I could think of to do is to ram my head into that hole, and that steel pot, that webbing, cut my fucking head. And I held it there till my shipmates came up with a mattress, pulled me back, and stuffed that mattress into the hole. And that was against, I don't know, 250 PSI, and it took 6 of them to shove this mattress in there to stop it. And then throw up a sheet of plywood or whatever it was, and then do shoring to block that. In the meantime, somebody saw I was bleeding. I had blood running down my face, and they called a time out, injury. Well, in the real deal, there ain't no time out. You don't call time out when you're trying to save your damn ship. Some of this is kind of tough for me to talk about. But now let's get off the damage report. Let's get off of that. Let's talk about what I think, how it happened, because that's what everybody was asking me. What do you think happened? And I think I already told you. We got the radar. If we're not running radar, we're in MCON. The electronic warfare guys can hear everybody's radar all around them. And they can tell by how strong that radar emission is, how close they are. Then you got to look out on each side. They're seeing the red and green lights and the mast light of an oncoming ship. They're reporting that to the bridge as far as the lookouts go. And then on top of that, you've got the Combat Information Center with cameras that can see stuff on their emissions, and they can rotate that camera and zoom in, zoom out. And let's say that that camera is 3-story size, so they can see approximately, I don't know, 6,000 yards. So the entire time this stuff is going on, it's all getting reported to the bridge. Now the guy on the bridge, which is called the officer of the deck, he's got a set of binoculars hanging off his neck. They're reporting a contact at 045 degrees. You never really worry about looking behind you. You look forward and you fan your sweep. So what this fucking guy was doing, I don't know. What this officer of the deck was doing, I don't know. But then you gotta think about that. You gotta think about that merchant Marine ship that did a 180 and then another 180 and started coming back up because he was ultimately headed to Tokyo. I don't know exactly what happened. I'm taking a guess on all this. However, I'm also going to put it on human failure. I have no choice but to put that on human failure, because I know he was trained. Now, whether he was trained to make a decisive decision and show the other ship that he was heavily modifying his course, I don't have an answer for that. From the locations I saw, and I'll put a link in, it looks to me like it was pretty open ocean, with the caveat, were there reefs somewhere around there that they had to worry about? Was there a mountain under the water that came up high enough that would rip the bottom out of the ship? I don't know. I don't know. But I will tell you what. The mascot of that ship well, maybe it's not mascot. It's the mantra of that ship is protect your people. Obviously, that did not happen. So, personally, I don't think we're ever going to hear what really happened. I will tell you one other thing, is there are satellites up there, and I can put the link to the website in the video, where you can track all the merchant marine ships. I've known that for years, but now you can look it up online, and you can track each and every ship in the hood that you're in. The only thing that won't show up are military ships. Japanese, United States, Russian, whatever. They don't disclose that information. It's all merchant marines. But I guarantee you, the U.S. military has a ship up there that records every goddamn move that a United States Navy ship makes. We will never see that. Okay, now in a little bit of defense of what happened. I think it was CNN said the U.S. Navy ship got broadsided. That's bullshit. All you got to do is look at the ship, look at the merchant ship, and it's only got damage on the left front bow. Now, why is that significant? Okay, if you're running into this type of situation, this being the U.S. Navy ship, it tried to turn. I'm doing that it tried to turn. The Crystal tried to turn the opposite direction and basically glanced off, but that bulbous bow is what ripped a hole under the water line. And that's what had to happen to seal the doors. Now, I think it's like 3 o'clock in the morning over there, 4 o'clock in the morning. They're not going to investigate into that ship, that US ship. But I'll bet they find most of the bodies still on board. There might be 1 or 2 that got thrown overboard, but I really tend to doubt that in today's Navy. I'm sure it's a non-smoking ship, so for what reason would anybody be topside? Somebody else reported that, oh, they were enjoying the night air at 2:30 in the fucking morning. Do you really honestly believe that? The midnight watch starts at 11:45 p.m. and goes until 3:45 a.m. There ain't nobody on the decks at 02:30 in the morning. Now, at 02:30 in the morning, if you fall overboard, nobody's gonna see you. You're in a collision, that ship is not gonna turn around and immediately hunt for survivors. That ship and the crew is gonna work to save the ship. Because like I said, you go in the water, you gotta fight sharks. In the meantime, you got the Japanese Coast Guard that comes racing out. How long it took them to get on scene, I don't know. But if you drown in the ocean and you don't have a life jacket on, which you don't wear a life jacket when you're on a Navy ship, unless it's General Porter's wartime, and you're going into battle, then you put a life jacket on. Or you're at flight quarters. Or you're going to small boat docks. You don't wear a life jacket. You fall overboard, they change the uniforms. I guess they probably don't teach, take your pants off, tie knots in the pant legs, whip it over your head, fill the pant legs up with air, and that is your temporary life jacket. Because now they wear those worthless goddamn camis. You know, the blue and gray ones. Who the fuck came up with that idea? I have no idea. That's what the bell bottoms were designed for. Take your pants off over your boots, whip them over your head after you tie knots, then you can take your boots off, tie the boot laces together, throw your boots around your neck, because if you ever get to shore on a coral island, you're going to need those boots to get over the coral. It's a sad fucking deal. It really is. But like I said, I think they'll find the 7 missing guys inside the ship that were brave enough to say, I'm not sinking the ship by opening this fucking door that we will will never be able to get closed. So that's your answer as to how a high-tech ship misses somebody ramming into it. Human error. College-educated, fuck in charge error. NT8 on the porch. Leave your nasty comments in the bottom. Talk to you later.